Welcome back to the It's Bigger Than Me podcast. I'm your host, Molly Gomez. I am so excited for you to meet Martha Mazor. You guys are going to love her. Her story from garage preschool to eight-figure empire will blow your socks off. I mean, this woman, when I met her, it was through a mutual friend, Allie. She came in and spoke into our inner circle, and instantly I just saw real fruit. I saw her heart. I saw, wow, here's somebody who's built something literally from her garage into this massive empire. But the character that she had, I said, okay, Allie, I need to connect with Martha. I ended up finding her on Instagram. That's usually how I roll. I'm like, I see something. I would love to connect. I just knew I had to have you on the show. So before we dive in today, I want to share a little bit about Martha, a little bit of her bio, because it's incredible. Short and sweet, but it's so good. Martha is the childcare industry's most sought after business mentor, a founder, CEO, and Inc. 5000 honoree who has built exactly the kind of business her clients are working toward. She's not a business coach who happens to know about childcare. She's a childcare operator who built an empire, now teaches others to do the same. And I know you're stepping into new ventures just to keep expanding your influence, your territory, how you can bless others from all of the things you've learned over the past two decades. So, Martha, welcome to the show. We are so excited that you're here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Molly. This is great to be here, and I really appreciate the invite. I'm excited to dive in.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to start because as we jumped on before the show and when we've had other calls, we just start talking and flowing and going.
Yeah.
But ultimately, let's talk about how this all started because wait, from a garage to an eight-figure empire, like why, what, who, what, all the things. So give us that version and that background of why you built something out of your garage, the need that it came from to this empire that you have today.
Well, we often forget that those humble beginnings are truly what build us, right? And like you said, it was really true through a need. I was a school teacher at the time when I had my first son, and I just decided that I wanted to stay home with him. Once I had him, I it was so hard for me to leave him. And the only thing at that point, I mean, I was 24. I had been teaching for about a year and a half at that point. So I was freshly out of college. And what I had in my hand was my teaching degree, the love of teaching, and a baby. And so I converted my garage into a classroom. It's what I had the ability to with my hands at that time. And I did that for almost 5 years. I was the do it all person. I got up in the morning, got myself ready, and I remember those early days when I had to get up, get myself ready because I never looked like a babysitter in, hair, not that we wear any roles anymore, but like the curlers.
Yes.
And I got up because I had been a teacher already. And so I really put on this professional's hat. I prepped lunch and breakfast before the kids arrived, and then I was ready to receive them, and we would start our day. I mean, I had curriculum, we had a daily agenda. I operated as a preschool, and even though it was very humble beginnings, I had big dreams. And I would just tell myself, one day I'm going to have a school. I don't know how. It felt so far away and impossible, but I always learned that you have to. And I don't like the whole fake it till you make it, because it wasn't faking, it was faith, right? I was
Mm.
activating this thing that one day I'm going to be that. And until then, I'm going to show up as a professional, and I'm going to show up as if, I always served and created my schools as a mom, from a mom's perspective. What would I like my children to experience and grow up in and even eat? The food that I served was important to me still to this day. What's on the menu? Are we nourishing children?
Mm.
Are they tasting things that maybe they wouldn't at home because, you know, positive peer pressure, right? They see their little buddy trying zucchini, they're going to probably try zucchini. So, things like that.
Great
And so,
tactic.
yes. So I always operated out of faith and sheer, just like big, massive belief that one day, I didn't know how or when. And then all of a sudden, I'm going through this divorce. That was at around 4.5, about 5 years in. I was at that point making good money. I had a helper, sometimes two helpers, depending on the shifts. I mean, I ended up moving out of the house, converting the house into like different classrooms. And so I had my little enterprise going. And then, it all came kind of to a reaching halt an extent when we had to short sell the house, through divorce, and it was like the downturn of the economy and everything was just not good. It was 2011, and so it was just rough. People were still recovering and houses were still. It was just that time, and I ended up a single mom on food stamps, flipping appliances online because, again, I didn't want to leave my children. I wanted to raise them. And now, specifically, we had to split custody. And so when the boys went with their dad, I still got to see them every day because when their dad went to work, he dropped them off to me. And so I got to love on them and see them every single day. And it just was that time of life where things got hard, but we survived. Now on the other side of that mountain, I'm like, well, I'm glad I was able to climb it and see it through.
Oh my goodness. As you're sharing that story, which I love, give Martha a room, she'll make a classroom. That's what I heard. I was like, garage, a house, just like give her a
Oh
closet. She's gonna, make it something where people can go in and learn and get better. I love that. But you
yeah.
said something so powerful where you've built this, you had helpers, you had great money coming in. The divorce happens, you had to sell things, you were flipping appliances. So here's this like, woo, and then you go downhill, but then it didn't stop you. So let's pause here though, because this sounds like a messy middle moment. This sounds like one of those moments where you decide, okay, wow, this is really hard. Do I figure it out? Do I not? But clearly you kept moving forward. But this is where I love to kind of settle in for a second because so many people have those hard moments where they're like, oh, it just isn't meant to be. It's too hard. It's too challenging. But you decided to press through. Let's talk about the realness of that moment. And I'm sure you have many messy middles, but this seems like a really obvious one where you had a big decision of I either figure it out or I stop.
Yes, it definitely was a big messy middle because, again, my personal life was in transition, my family life was in transition, so that always takes a toll, and then my livelihood too. I Before all that or through all this, I had bought a house with my brother because I knew that this was coming, and so I needed to have a place to live but also work because, again, I worked from home, and so I bought this fixer upper. It was an abandoned home. It was at the time where the downturn of the market in Phoenix. And so I bought this house back in the day for $80,000 and needed a lot of work, but still you can't find that ever
No.
here. And even with the houses that need a lot of work, right? And so that was a stretch for me, but I did it with my brother and he graciously supported me. And so I spent my weekends and evenings like painting and landscaping, anything that I could save to be able to get this house ready to move in. And then I fix it. I was able to remodel everything in there, and we move in, and then I moved my kids in there, and then my neighbor started to complain, and so they complained to the city. They shut me down. And talk about messy middle. I was like, this house was abandoned. You had squatters here because it was on a main road. The side of the house was on a main road. And so I was like, this is perfect visibility. And I just was so just depleted, deflated, annoyed, frustrated, all the feels because I here you have this 28-year-old mom with two littles trying to just do the thing, and you have this lady, bitter old lady, sorry, as a neighbor, and I was like, we're not doing anything illegal, nothing wrong. She just didn't like that we were there and that there was kids in the yard, she could hear kids in the yard. So I was like, all right, well, I guess this is happening. And that's from there. I had a friend who was a realtor and she would flip houses. And she told me of this warehouse where back in the day when Sears was still around, any appliance that people would take back, then they would just resell the masses in this warehouse. and she connected me with a tech, and like she hooked me up. I think she felt so bad, and she had also been a single mom, and so she was like, honestly, you can make really good money, and I actually did. So I would go weekly. I would meet the tech. He would show up with this big truck, and I learned how to buy, what to look for in these appliances, and I just buy one after the other. He'd load them up. He'd clean them, he'd fix them, repair them, and then he'd deliver them to me. And at the time, I was now living in a small apartment. I had a good friend who lived not far. And so he lent me his garage. And so I would plug in all these appliances in the garage, meet people off of Craigslist, I'd post them, and I'd make a couple $100 a pop. And so when you scale that, I mean, I started, you know, it paid my bills and I got to be with my babies. And so I
Wow.
did that. And while I was going through that, I meet my now husband. And then it had scaled so much that I felt bad. I'm like knocking on my friend's door all the time, using his garage. So I ended up renting this storage unit that had electricity. And it felt like a drug deal sometimes, because you're like, you're like showing up to this. And think about this, this storage unit, and you're like rolling up the gate, and then it's like all these appliances were plugged in, lined in. I'm like, and this one does this, and this one is that. It was so funny. Now I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, the things you do. But it ended up being so good for us, and it taught me so much too. You pivot, you figure it out, you do what you have to do, and I was able to not only survive, but then I got offered the opportunity. I meet my now husband, and I'm like, one day on a date, I said, hey, there's this childcare center that's up for sale. I had met this guy years before and wanted a lot of money, and he was an older man who was a commercial real estate investor, had acquired the building, thought he could run the center, and just basically neglected it. So didn't thrive. And he just wanted his rent at that point. He had remembered me and just reached back out. And I was like, I'm glad that you think I can take it on, but I'm in a different place now. We had met pre-divorce, right? And I'm flipping appliances, but still, I mean, I don't have buckets of money. And so my husband and we were dating, and he was like, well, I've been looking to invest in something. And my husband is from Israel, and he had been here a few years, working hard, saving money to start a business. And so we just jump all in. I'm like, well, I don't have a plan B. And here we go. I'm like, from flipping appliances, give me a childcare center. That's my dream. Let's do this. And yeah, there's a lot more messy middles, but that's kind of how that all happened in about a year and a half. Like
Wow.
all these changes and all this stuff. It was a lot at once, but I didn't die.
Yeah, you did not. And I mean, there's so many skills that you can take from all of that first of all, it comes down to a decision, hard decisions. And, people, even though you didn't do anything wrong, the old lady neighbor, which you would think that the lady would be like, oh, I'm so happy to hear
Yeah.
kids like running around. But no, she's bitter and not happy you did whatever. Basically, it's like, hopefully people are hearing you did what you needed to do. You lived in a small apartment, you used your friend's garage, then you had the space where you could sell it. And then all of a sudden, God leads you to your now husband. He's like, I'm looking to invest. And it just all lined up. So even though there was like a somewhat of a pause in the middle, and it was a little messy, and you had to really get in the dirt to be like, I just have to make ends meet and figure it out. I love hearing stories like that because we forget that we're created to do hard things. We
Yes.
forget that this is the character building and this is the stuff we get to go
Yes.
through, not that like, oh, the enemy's just attacking me and I can't do it. We get to dig our heels in. What do we need to do to make it work and go make it work? And I love that. And so from like building it out of your garage, having these bumps in the road, slinging appliances out of a storage unit, even out of a friend's garage to then, wow, here's an old childcare facility. Let's step into that. And then things just expanding. And, I would love to kind of transition into, because obviously you've built an incredible empire. There's some new things that you're stepping into now. Now, with all the knowledge that you have, people and women, probably men and women, coming to you, Martha, like how do I step into and scale this and grow this? So there's some new ventures that you're stepping into, or maybe even branches off of what you're doing that people are able to just even get more from you and the wisdom that you have. Because I wanted you on this podcast. I knew there was a deep well of great story and great things to press into. And now you're expanding how you can be able to serve more people, not just children, and having, giving them a great place where they can be fed well and they can learn and have a great environment, which is so important. Now you're kind of branching off and expanding. So I would love for you to talk about what this new life kind of looks like right now. Like you have new things that are coming, which are exciting. So people can know, like, hey, you know what? She doesn't stop. The Lord tells her to build and she is going. And maybe you even find yourself in a messy start right now. Who knows? But the floor is yours to share what new things God is doing.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I think that it's, again, we forget that all the things, if you're listening to this and you're going through something now, or you've gone through something, you can attest to this, that all those things, if we believe and love the Lord, work out for our good. And, I remember so many things feeling unfair, unjust. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Even the whole, like, how my marriage dissolved, and it was all, that whole experience was so hard for me. I just wanted to be obedient to the Lord, and that felt hard. And this lady, like, I felt like it was always hitting walls, and I didn't understand. I remember thinking, I was never mad at God, but I was just like, did you forget that I'm around? Like, hi, I'm still here. I felt all the feels that you feel when things don't work out, as though we wish or planned, and it was constant. It was like one after the other after another. It
Yes.
was the season of struggle. And now on the other side, even the last 14, 15 years of Whiz Kids, after the first center, I was great. I was a great teacher. I did not know how to run a formal, like, real true business. I didn't know where workers' comp was. I didn't know what payroll taxes were. Like, I was a deer in headlights more often than I care to admit. I was like learning as I was going, and again, building the plane as I'm flying the thing, and so, but God was always there with me. And I was just, sometimes you need to be naive and innocent, because if we actually know what it entails, sometimes that might be a
Yes.
deterrent, right? And because then I had to learn the thing, and I learned to be a business owner, and I learned all these things, and then I learned to scale, and I was like, we're going for it, and I ended up opening 8 centers in about 10 years, which is insane. We now have 6 locations. I sold 2 here and there over the years, and employ nearly, well, I think depends on the week, but nearly 200 employees, and we serve 700 children. And it's just been a beautiful road of ups and downs, and a lot of messy middles. I can go on for hours, but now that's allowed me, I felt the Lord pressing me for a while, where I needed to step into something else and help, but I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel that, I don't know. I don't want to say smart enough, but I'm like, there's so many other smarter people than me. You have all this resistance and all this
Mhm.
stuff that goes on between these 2 ears. And that's often, if God is calling you to something, that's often that resistance, it is very real. And that's
Yes.
the enemy pushing at us. And so it's really up to us, yet again, to decide, who am I going to listen to, and who am I going to allow in my circle that's going to to really see the things maybe that I don't, pull out the best in me, and I could borrow their faith while my faith builds into this new identity. And that's really what it's been the last few years. Is I've had to surrender so many things in my personal life and let go, because as a builder, we often love to control. Right? I'm the decision maker. I am the boss. I like this is this has served me well, and that's why I've been able to build. And also there's seasons in our life that we have to be pruned in order to continue to
Yes.
grow. And that pruning is not fun. And nobody likes the pruning, but we need that, right? If you ask a landscaper, he's going to tell you, well, you're going to need to prune this for, for your orange trees to
Bear
give you
fruit.
fruit,
Yes.
So, and that surrender, I was on my knees crying, snot coming out, more often that I wish I had to. But that showed me that there is literally nothing I could do in my strength. And then I had to tap into my creator, and the Lord was just waiting for me. Like, girl, finally, like you're finally letting me in, like really in, not just saying and then like acting it, building in
Yes.
my own strength, but like
Hmm.
really leaning in and trusting fully. And I started just getting downloads from the Lord of who he said I was. And but my prayers became, Lord, give me, I want my dreams and my visions to be directly from you. Like I want less of me, I want more of you. Show me, make your dreams my dreams. Make your purpose my drive. Like I just didn't want to do things the way that I've had to do them because I was in survival. It was kind of a trauma response, right? Like you're going through things and you're activating because you need to survive. And then you're like, oh, I'm really good at this. So I'm going to do more of it instead of deal with all the junk I have to deal with, you
Yes.
know? And so then, a lot of us workaholics, I feel like I'm a recovering workaholic, but I have to remind myself, like,
Yes, you are.
I'm not doing it the same way this time around. And it's like this Martha of, 4.0. I'm in my mid 40s, so I'm going to say 4.0. But, doing things differently is very freeing. There's so
Hmm.
much less pressure. I am doing things building because I felt the Lord tell me because I was like, well, I feel like this is my calling. I've done this. And you serve across all these campuses. I provide jobs, growth opportunities, serve these beautiful children. We have families that are with us 10, 12 years because they have one, two, three kids, four kids sometimes. And by the time they've all made it through our school. So I felt very connected and passionate about what we did. So it didn't make sense. And then I felt the Lord tell me, you can have a greater impact by leading leaders, right? There's only so much like I can wrap my hands around. And I feel like I'm pretty tapped out because I have learned to have more balance, and I like, to travel and have my family time, and growth in business that's brick and mortar requires a lot of our time and attention. And so I knew that I was going to slow down the scaling, but that was what I just felt the Lord continue to say. You can have a greater impact by supporting other leaders. And you could still do what I love to do without actually having to pull the wagon myself, And so it just that's what it's been. And understanding it's not really me. I am an open book. I am here to serve. I am here to support the leaders of private schools, childcare, even caregiving businesses. I work with a few ladies who own these, the assisted living, independent living homes because they're caring for other people. And there's a certain skill set. Yes, you need business, all the business principles for sure. And also you like it takes one crazy one to understand another crazy one, right? We give often from an empty tank. And so
Sure,
just
yes.
learning, teaching, coming alongside leaders and saying like this is what the Lord says about us. And
Mm.
when we think about women women funded Jesus's ministry. Like think about how profound that is. And there's a shift going on in our country where We went from this hustle culture, I think, and people are finding out like, okay, well, maybe that wasn't the best, and but I still believe we're made and created to build and multiply it. I mean, it's written Genesis 1, like
Right in the beginning.
right in the very beginning, right? Take
Yes.
dominion and be fruitful and multiply. And then as we go on, there's another verse that says, He will prune the branches that do not give fruit.
Mm,
And so, Lord Jesus, I do not want to be a branch that is pruned, right? I mean, maybe the pruning process, but I don't want to be cut. I don't want my branch to be completely cut off
yes.
because I want to produce fruit, Lord. And so it's become now my new, like, that is like my new mission is I work, I don't isolate only working with women, but primarily that's who I get to do life with. And I'm part of groups and just really reminding women that you can build, you can multiply, and it doesn't have to come at an expense of our sanity, our health, our family, and co-laboring with the best CEO that there ever was,
I
was
love
the
that.
ultimate creator.
Yes,
and
yes.
and God wants that for us. And just sometimes we need mentors have changed my life. I have had a mentor probably the last 10 years every year. And I attribute all my success and growth, one to God. I couldn't have done it without him. And secondly, to my mentors who came like boots on the ground, held my hand, also maybe slapped me around a little bit, or lit
Yes,
a
we
fire
need
under
that.
me. We need a
Yes.
little bit of all of that at different seasons.
I
So
love it. I mean, there's so much fruit in your story. And, as we're wrapping up here, I really hope people are leaning in of, there is like, he'll bring in success and then he'll repivot you and there'll be pruning and there'll be, Lord, what are we doing? But I love that he repositioned you for the leaders because then you can go and you can lead them. And if you are a leader leading a school or a caregiver, like reach out to Martha. She has incredible events, a lot of opportunities to plug in. And you want somebody with a heart like this who has that, Lord, I am serving you no matter what. She's getting filled up, not pouring from an empty cup. She's refining and just being better each and every day. And that's why I love having you on the show. And so if you want to connect with her, all the information is in the show notes below. But you really got to hear Martha's heart today of what she's been able to create, the humility she has and the mission of now it's the leaders and then what can I do with the leaders so they can go out and multiply. And I love that. I am on a very similar mission. And it's so important because the leaders need somebody like you who's gone before, not afraid to pivot. I'm here, Lord, mold me. And you are living that out in excellence. So, Martha, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been absolutely incredible.
thank you so much, Molly. It's been my pleasure.
If this episode encouraged you, maybe challenged you, or even had you feeling that you're not alone in this process that we call life, share this with a friend who needs to hear this message today. You can go ahead and connect with the guest that we had on today's show, or even myself. You'll find all those links to connect in the show notes below. And just know God is using even your voice to be mentorship to somebody else.